What is it like to be here and not here?
Some years back, I was at a bar in downtown St. Louis. I was talking to a fellow, larger white guy, uh, and bald. Looked almost like if Stone Cold Steve Austin was just sitting next to me drinking at a bar. He was alright for the most part until he got extra drunk and referred to me as colored. This wasn't okay with me. I immediately did the toughest thing I could do in this situation, which was to lightly scold him as a child because it never left my mind that he could take one of his hands and mash my skull into the bar. And this is where I want to talk about LeBron James. I remember some years back somebody painted the N word on, I believe, his garage. And I'm sure that was a horrible experience for LeBron and his family. However, this due to the massive amount of wealth that he obviously has uh, a greater access to resources than say I do, as far as therapeutic resources. I didn't have anybody to talk to. I couldn't afford to talk to anybody after my incident. He has access to the best, counselor's money can buy because he's a millionaire. Also, his children have access to that wealth as well. So this is where I want to talk about class, particularly class as from an intersectional perspective. We often, I've often felt that sometimes people will, particularly black people, will override every other aspect of identity with race, similar to what some non-black people will do with the element of class. Some people will say it's all race. Some others will say it's all class. And the problem with both of those arguments is the black upper class and the concept of it. The fact that you have these wealthy black people who still encounter racism but are able to deal with it in a much better way than most working class black people are says something about this distinction. I don't think either one overrides the other one personally. I don't think you can talk about one without talking about the other one personally. And I think my personal experience highlights the fact that regardless of how much wealth, of course, that someone has, um, they'll still encounter racism. However, because of all that wealth that someone has, they'll be able to deal with the consequences of racism much better than someone who is working class like me would be able to deal with them. So the black upper class started really since the nation began, but it was really started around like the late 1870s, around the time when you have like a lot of the children of these children essentially were children of rape because a lot of slave masters would rape their enslaved people, and they would they would raise some of the children or train some. I don't say raise, but train some of the children in like crafts they were involved in. And so you have a lot of these young mixed black kids who are essentially like house slaves, and also, and being that have that feeling of entitlement of being closer to the master, and also the lighter skin and being treated differently, um, and already being coming up in an environment where you're already separated from darker skinned people and you're closer to white people, and given that experience, and also that connection, a lot of them are able to move into to do certain businesses, being tailors, doctors, lawyers, much more readily than their field slave cousins, brothers, those counterparts. With that, you have the rise of the black upper class in the around the time of Jim Crow, and and this is a time when there's a lot of lynchings going on, a lot of lynchings, murders, rapes, all that stuff. I mean, also was happening prior, but lynchings ramped up in the around the time of Jim Crow, for obvious reasons, because white supremacists, whites generally trying to reassert themselves, and the black upper classes' answer to these attacks was to dress nice, buy nice cars, buy nice homes, in order to send the message that hey, we are equal to you, we are as good as you. Um, and you shouldn't treat us the way you're treating us because we are as good as you. Um, and that type of respectability politics of don't fight back, but show them but show them that we're better, but don't necessarily fight back in the same way that some working class blacks might be fighting back in the riots and such. Um, still persists today with a lot of black upper class people because you have Bill Cosby talking about pull your parents up and going back to the old Booker T mindset of, well, if we act better they'll treat us better, and change will eventually come. But these aren't the people that bring change. Now the black upper class has invested in a lot of black owned businesses and, well, I mean, a lot of black movements, sorry, a lot of black movements, a lot of black organizations. They've done that over the years, but also the black wealthy have also invested in policies, particularly right wing policies that have done nothing but harm black people, and invested in and donated to politicians who have done nothing but promote policies that have harmed black people, the war on crime and war on drugs and things like that. So I think that with all that said, it goes back to my point of, while we will encounter racism. I'll encounter it. I'll keep encountering it. LeBron will keep encountering it. The fact that he's wealthy helps to mitigate some of the harsher impacts of racism for him. But for me and others like me, and even others who are worse off than me, we don't have millions of dollars to deal with the horrible racism that society is gonna keep hitting us with. That's it.